Welcome back, everyone. So, in a previous video, I talked about ContraPoints, actually bringing up a good point about the left needing some type of movement for men's rights. And I think I might have found a good one. One of the things that crossed my mind that has been a topic of discussion for quite some time now, I believe even Penn and Teller did an episode of Bullshit about this. And this absolutely does fall under the category of a men's rights issue. Men's rights activism, if you will. Now, before I get into it, I want to show you this picture. This is a picture of a guy named Glenn Callender. And he does seminars where he teaches people about foreskins and what it is that they're missing when they have been circumcised. I had to get this out of the way before I continue on with the video because I don't know that I would be able to remember it for the whole way through, at least off the bat. So I wanted to make sure I got that out. There is a guy out there, Glenn Callender. I will leave a link in the description below. But he does seminars about foreskins and educating men on what they're missing out on as far as foreskins go. So one of the things that intrigued me about this is I saw a documentary about circumcision, and there was a female that came from a country where they participated in female circumcision, or what we know of as female genital mutilation. And she said, how can we live in a society that perpetuates the claim that circumcising women or female genital mutilation is not acceptable, but yet we do it to our boys, to our males? Now, personally, I don't know what I'm missing out on as far as having a foreskin, because most males are circumcised before they even have the ability to make an informed decision of whether or not they want to be circumcised or not. And maybe it's possible that instead of perceiving circumcision as some sort of health procedure, maybe it should be looked at as cosmetic surgery rather than a health one. So, looking at the pros and cons, and this is where it gets really interesting. The pros of being circumcised is that there's more of a hygienic aspect to it. I'm sorry, guys that are uncircumcised, this is true. Males who have been circumcised do not have to worry about pulling back their foreskin and cleaning underneath it. It's as simple as jumping in the shower and cleaning your genitals normally. You don't have to do any. You don't have to pull the foreskin back. It's not there. There's less risk of urinary tract infection. There's less risk of infection underneath the foreskin, and there is less risk, or there's absolutely no risk, actually, of the foreskin ripping or tearing during sex. That being said, there is also no chance in hell, if you are circumcised, of getting a particular type of penile cancer that only occurs in the foreskin. But if you do have your foreskin, your chances of getting this very specific penile cancer that only occurs on the foreskin is only a 0.01% chance. It's not a very high likelihood. So those are the pros of being circumcised. It sounds like a great deal until you learn that, well, the chance of this particular cancer is only 0.01%, and as long as you're pulling back the foreskin and cleaning underneath it, all the infections I talked about and the hygienics are not really a problem, as long as you are hygienic about keeping up with cleaning underneath your foreskin. One of the things that I found intriguing about having a foreskin is apparently males who have foreskins have the capability of masturbating without touching their penis. This is not something that a person who has been circumcised, or a male who has been circumcised, is able to do. It cannot be done. In fact, it's even more intriguing to learn that there's spots on the foreskin that can cause immediate ejaculation without necessarily climaxing or orgasming. So it's more easily obtainable for a person who still has their foreskin intact to have multiple orgasms. Whereas a person who is uncut, they might be able to have multiple orgasms, but generally once a guy is spent, he's spent. He's done. Roll over, go to sleep, leave me alone, don't touch me. Whereas if you have your foreskin intact, that's not necessarily the case. Very interesting. There's also things about the foreskin when it comes to heterosexual sex, where there's aspects to the foreskin where we have... I want to stay away from the word designed because it's not the right way, and it gives creationists like an aha moment, and that's not really what's going on. Adaptation is the right word. That is meant to stimulate the clitoris in the female. Whereas if you get a guy circumcised, the ripples of the foreskin and the intact penis are no longer there to stimulate the clitoris. So it's not as fun for the females. So I found that to be intriguing as well. But I also found it intriguing just how much sensitivity you lose when you do orgasm, when you do climax as a male without your foreskin. 80% of the nerve endings, all that foreskin that they cut off, is all highly sensitive tissue. It's not like the shaft of the penis. It's more like the tip of the penis, the head of the penis. And one of the other issues in being circumcised is there's this sort of callus, a callus state that forms around, believe it or not, the head of the penis is actually a gland. It is considered a gland. And it gets callicized over time and becomes less sensitive. And the foreskin protects the head of the penis from that happening to it, while simultaneously also protecting the head of the penis from ejaculating prematurely during actual sex. So when you think about all the things that you're missing out on as a circumcised male, think about this, all the things you missed out on because you have not been, or because you were circumcised and you are not intact. I don't know what the answer is on this one, but I do think it is a good point to be made is, why are we circumcising boys at this point? It's not like we live in, a third world country. It's not like we live in the dark ages where we have to wash our bodies with sand and river water. It's as simple as taking a shower. Why do we continue to circumcise males? We are mutilating genitals still to this day, and like I said, maybe it's something we could do as a cosmetic surgery rather than a health concern, being is that the health concerns that are presented aren't really health concerns at all. They're more hygienic than anything. I would say check out all that guy that I showed you earlier that I already forgot the name of, something calendar. Check out all that he has to provide, because he tries to teach men what they're missing out on and being circumcised, not having their foreskin, and the functions that the foreskin actually provides. Some of it does involve nudity. He promises, though, that it's not sexual. That is not what his seminars are for. He does not ejaculate. He does not do anything sexual. It's predominantly, it is for educational purposes only, to show men what they don't know about what they never knew that they lost. I, as a circumcised male, I have no idea what it's like to have a foreskin. I had no idea that people with foreskins, I guess not everybody, but some, can masturbate without even touching their penis. Just by flexing their penis repeatedly, it causes the foreskin to move back and forth over the head of the penis, causing them to have a very small orgasm. Circumcised men can't do this. They don't have the foreskin to do it. I find that intriguing. So if the left was looking for a prominent reason to have a men's rights sort of activism, I think circumcision is where it's at. It absolutely is a form of genital mutilation, and we should be asking ourselves, is this really a medical procedure that needs to be done, or is this something that we're perpetuating due to culture, cultural norms? Most of Europe doesn't participate in this anymore, to my understanding, and I'd be curious to hear what people from Europe have to say about this when it comes to the American culture still participating in this, frankly, very archaic practice. Do you have trouble keeping it clean? Is there trouble with hygienics when it comes to being uncircumcised? I've met many men who have been uncircumcised, and they don't seem to have a problem keeping things clean. They've never had urinary tract infections, and I don't know. I honestly don't know. They talk about the trauma that is caused by circumcising males when they're babies. I personally have no memory of this. I cannot sit there and say that it had a deep traumatic impact on me, but when I find out that there's spots on the foreskin that you could lightly touch an orgasm, or that you can orgasm without even touching your penis, I have to think, what have I missed out on being circumcised? I know this is a very, very, as some people would see it, a very crude topic, but I think we're all adults here and we can handle this discussion, and I'd like to open it for discussion. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. And as ContraPoint said,
I worry about my boys.
So I'll leave it at that, and I'm out.